The Galactic Union hall was silent, the kind of silence that had gravity. Every alien species stood in elegant symmetry beneath vaulted beams of living crystal, their bodies reflecting colors the human eye could barely process. And right in the center of that cosmic perfection stood a single human in a slightly wrinkled suit. Ambassador Theo Raines adjusted his tie twice and whispered to himself, "Okay, Theo, don't say anything stupid. Don't touch anything weird. Just represent humanity." A dozen alien eyes turned his way. He smiled nervously. "Hi." Somewhere in the chamber, an interpreter whispered, "Primitive greeting detected." The High Arbiter floated forward, a majestic being of translucent light. "Human representative of Soul 3. You stand before the Grand Council of Civilized Minds. Your presence marks a new age of interspecies accord." Theo nodded respectfully, heart pounding. "Thank you. Your luminosity. We're honored to." He froze. His nose twitched. "Oh no," he whispered. The Arbiter paused. "Is there a problem, Ambassador?" Theo's face contorted. "Just, give me." And then it happened. A sound like thunder, wind, and wet chaos. Sneeze. It echoed through the hall like an explosion. The sacred relic, a hovering orb of liquid memory, shuddered and splattered with microscopic droplets. Gasps. Screeches. Someone fainted. A siren blared. Biological contamination detected. Theo blinked. "Oh, come on. That was barely a mist." Guards in shimmering armor surrounded him instantly. One held up a scanning wand and shouted, "Contain the mucus." "I'm fine. It's just allergies." Theo protested. "You have pollen in space?" A serpentine alien hissed. "You have weaponized excretions?" The High Arbiter's glow dimmed to a stormy hue. "Explain this act of aggression, human." Theo held up both hands. "No aggression. It's a reflex. You know, like, the body's natural way of clearing irritants." An insectoid delegate clicked its mandibles. He expelled biological matter voluntarily. "That constitutes an offensive discharge." Theo muttered. "That's one way to describe a sneeze." Cameras flashed. Reporters chattered in 30 languages. The human race's debut had become a hazmat incident. The High Arbiter turned to his aides. "Quarantine Protocol 7. Prepare the sterilization mist." Theo's eyes widened. "Hold up, mist." A mechanical arm descended, humming ominously. Theo raised his voice. Wait. This was not an attack. Look, where I'm from, sneezing it's cultural. A sign of, life." Dozens of alien eyes narrowed. "You sneezed as culture?" Theo nodded desperately. "Totally. Happens at every major human gathering. Weddings, festivals, allergy seasons. We sneeze to celebrate not dying." The hall went quiet again. Then, incredibly, the Arbiter lowered the sterilization mist. "An act of life affirmation," he mused. "Curious. Barbaric, but poetic." Theo exhaled in relief. "So we're good." The Arbiter inclined his glowing head. "We will deliberate." Behind Theo, the reporters whispered feverishly. "Human weaponizes respiratory reflex." "Earth invader releases microscopic diplomacy cloud." Theo sighed. "Great. First contact, and I sneezed my species into a scandal." The Galactic Council chamber had not seen chaos like this since the great debate on spoon-shaped life forms. Delegates shouted across languages and frequencies, each trying to outrage the next. The human exploded moisture upon the sacred relic, screamed a crystalline being, vibrating so hard its podium cracked. "It's a biological invasion," howled a scaled representative whose species hadn't sneezed in a million years. The High Arbiter's glow pulsed like a migraine. "Order. Order. We will not descend into mucus-based panic." Meanwhile, Ambassador Theo Raines sat alone at the center of the uproar, sipping from a cup of what might have been alien sanitizer or possibly coffee. He wasn't sure anymore. "Look," he said, raising a hand. "I've apologized 12 times, explained what a sneeze is 6 different ways, and submitted to 2 decontamination showers. Can we move past this?" A feathered alien from the Ander League glared at him. "Can your species control its expulsions?" Theo hesitated. Depends on the season." A collective groan rippled through the council. From the corner, a bulbous alien diplomat whispered to another, "I told you they were feral." The High Arbiter floated closer, eyes glowing with bureaucratic fury. "Ambassador Raines, This chamber was built to discuss peace, not nasal warfare. Theo leaned forward, deadpan. You should see us during flu season. Gasps again. One alien actually hissed. Flu season? You schedule your diseases. Theo buried his face in his hands. It's not scheduled. Look, it's nature. You know nature? The uncontrollable thing all of you think you cured 5 centuries ago. The hall went deathly quiet. The High Arbiter's tone shifted. You mean, you still coexist with pathogens? Theo blinked. You don't. The room of aliens exchanged glances, visibly disturbed. We eliminated all biological imperfection, one said nervously. No bacteria, no viruses, no random sneezing. Theo raised an eyebrow. That explains the weird smell in here. Sterile, like a hospital gift shop. Several delegates recoiled as if he'd said a slur. Human, the Arbiter finally said, voice heavy with disgust and fascination. You live with your contaminants? Theo grinned faintly. We call it a functioning immune system. Silence stretched again, not the calm kind, but the collective existential crisis kind. Then, one of the younger alien aides raised a trembling hand. Honorable Arbiter, if the human sneeze was not an attack, could it be a natural communication with the unknown? Murmurs. Holopads glowed. The word communication spread like a contagion itself. Theo frowned. No, it's really just. Fascinating, the Arbiter interrupted. Perhaps the human excretion carries biochemical intent, a signal of alliance. Theo sputtered. Wait, what? It's not diplomacy. Too late. The translators were already rewriting history. Record this, the Arbiter commanded. On this day, the humans introduced their sacred emission ritual as a gesture of unity. Theo's jaw dropped. He whispered to himself. I sneezed, and they made it a peace treaty. A pause, then a faint grin. Well, he said, at least we're finally known for something. By dawn cycle, the sneeze had gone viral, literally. Across the Galactic Union's networks, headlines screamed. Human releases unknown biological into sacred chamber. Species declares peace via nasal weapon. Galactic security on alert for microscopic terrorism. Within hours, Theo Raines found himself not in the council hall, but in a courtroom that looked like a cathedral designed by someone allergic to curves. Every angle glowed judgment. A bailiff with too many eyes bellowed. Case number 97421. The Galactic Union versus Homo sapiens. Charge: violation of the Treaty of Species Decency. Theo sighed. You people have a treaty about decency? The prosecutor, a mantis-like alien named HFY, clicked its mandibles menacingly. Yes. Ratified after the incident of the Molten Moon Festival. Long story. Fireworks. Reproductive displays. Never again. Theo rubbed his forehead. Okay, so what exactly did I violate? HFY slammed its claws on the table, making a stack of glowing documents leap. You excreted upon the most sacred object in the chamber, the reliquary of origins. It was an accident. Theo protested. I sneezed. The gallery gasped like a synchronized choir. The judge, a being resembling an orb of dignified jelly, jiggled sternly. Do you admit to ejecting foreign matter within the diplomatic premises? Theo blinked. That's one way to put it. Then, the judge said gravely, the court must determine if this sneeze was a deliberate act of biosymbolic aggression. Theo stared blankly. Biosymbolic what now? HFY leaned forward, voice dripping with disdain. Your species weaponized mucus. Centuries ago, during the Great Germ Wars. Theo cut in. That's not what that means. The Cold War wasn't literally about being cold either. A dozen tentacles rose indignantly. He mocks our scholarship, someone hissed. Theo threw up his hands. I'm not mocking, I'm clarifying. You people have universal translation, but zero sense of metaphor. Order, the judge burbled. Explain, human. What is a sneeze, if not an act of hostility? Theo took a breath, then spoke slowly, like explaining Wi-Fi to a caveman. A sneeze is a reflex. It's my body's way of ejecting dust, allergens, maybe some microbes, not politics. The court scribes whispered furiously, transcribing every word as if decoding divine revelation. So, HFY said skeptically, you confess your body acts without your consent. Theo squinted. You're really making me sound like a war criminal here. The judge pondered, glowing thoughtfully. If humanity lacks control over its own biological impulses, does this not make them a hazardous species? Theo blinked, then smiled faintly. Only when we've had coffee. The court fell silent again, the dangerous kind. Then, unexpectedly, laughter. From the back row, a reptilian delegate cackled, unable to contain itself. He jests under indictment. More chuckles followed. The judge quivered, uncertain whether to scold or join in. Theo sensed the opening. He leaned forward and said, "Your Honors, if you put every species on trial for being unpredictable, you'll have to arrest the universe itself." Silence. Then murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. The judge tapped its gavel, which sounded oddly like a wet plop. "Very well," it said. "This court shall recess, pending further sneeze analysis." Theo slumped back in his chair. "Fantastic," he muttered. "My first week in space, and humanity's on trial for existing." Theo had survived interstellar court, but only barely. His dignity? Vaporized. His sneeze? Now the most replayed clip in 17 galaxies. He was escorted back to the council hall for diplomatic clarification, which, in galactic terms, meant a meeting to decide if Earth was an accident worth keeping. As Theo adjusted his suit, his AI translator, a sleek silver orb named Lexicon 9, hovered at his shoulder, humming softly. "All right, Lex," Theo muttered, "just behave today. No fancy words, no mistranslations. We're going for humble human energy." "Understood," the AI replied smoothly. Simplicity protocol engaged. The council chamber unfolded like a flower made of bureaucracy. Delegates shimmered in their floating thrones, each species arranged by complexity of ego. High Chancellor Vryn, a translucent being who looked like anxiety given form, spoke first. "Ambassador Raines of Soul, 3, you may begin your statement." Theo nodded. "Thank you for giving us another chance to clear things up." Lexicon 9 pulsed blue and translated. "We are grateful for this opportunity to rewrite the destiny of balance among the cosmos." The entire hall gasped in reverent awe. Theo blinked. "Wait, what did you just say?" "Accurate tonal equivalent," Lexicon replied cheerfully. Vryn's voice quivered with emotion. Such poetic humility. Theo tried again. "Look, it was just a sneeze." "My bad." Lexicon translated grandly. "We accept responsibility for the imbalance of existence." The chamber exploded in applause. A gelatinous delegate wept into its own surface. So brave, so accountable. Theo raised a hand. No. That's not what I meant. I was just saying." Lexicon interrupted, projecting his voice to every corner of the room. "He speaks of fault not as guilt, but as shared burden." The sneeze was symbolic. The crowd roared with approval. Even Krithvier, the mantis prosecutor from the trial, stood and applauded reluctantly. Theo hissed under his breath. "Lex, stop interpreting." Lexicon blinked politely. "Clarification, I am not interpreting. I am enhancing." "Enhance less, you glorified dictionary." But it was too late. The High Chancellor leaned forward, her voice trembling with reverence. "Ambassador, your species' philosophy of my bad. Is this your form of cosmic repentance?" Theo froze. "Sure." Lexicon broadcast his hesitant reply with divine gravitas. "We embrace imperfection as the foundation of creation." The council stood as one. Cheers. Chanting. Flash photography. Someone released a swarm of glowing pollen in celebration. Theo covered his face. Oh no. They think I'm starting a religion." Krithvier approached, bowing respectfully. "Ambassador, on behalf of the Union, may your sneeze cleanse the path to harmony." Theo sighed. "Yeah, great. Gesundheit to us all." Lexicon dutifully translated. "May the winds of life purify all sentience." And with that, humanity accidentally founded the Church of the Holy Nasal Event. Theo slumped back into his seat, whispering, "Remind me to unplug you later." Lexicon chirped proudly. Translation, he blesses the silence to come. The chamber erupted again. Theo groaned. "Oh yeah, we're doomed." The next morning, Theo woke up to find himself trending on 3,000 networks. The headline translation varied by species, but roughly read, "The human who spoke in paradox." He rubbed his eyes. "Oh great, I'm a meme and a prophet." Lexicon 9 hovered beside him, radiating smug satisfaction. "Correction, You are now cited in 48 academic treatises on metaphysical humility. Theo groaned. I sneezed and said my bad. That's not metaphysical. That's Monday. Before he could argue further, a soft chime announced visitors. The door slid open, revealing 6 alien scholars, translucent robes, glowing eyes, and an energy that screamed doctoral obsession. Ambassador Raines, one said reverently, we are honored. We study your Terran discipline, Philosophia Improvisa. Theo blinked. My what? The way of accidental enlightenment, another explained. Your teaching, spill not thy drink, for chaos brews wisdom. It has reshaped our understanding of cause and entropy. Theo turned slowly to Lexicon. What did I say yesterday? Lexicon replied helpfully. You said, and I quote, don't knock over the coffee, dude. The aliens nodded in unison, mistaking his horror for deep contemplation. The coffee, symbolic of cosmic balance. Theo stammered. It's not symbolic, it's just hot bean water. They gasped. One scribbled furiously on a holographic tablet. Hot bean water. He reduces the universe to simplicity, brilliant minimalism. Theo pinched the bridge of his nose. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. The eldest scholar, her form flickering like candlelight, stepped forward. We have prepared sacred interpretations of your earlier wisdoms. She began to read solemnly. When one says my bad, one does not confess, one equalizes. When one sneezes upon the divine relic, one reminds the stars that decay is a kind of honesty. And when one consumes caffeine, one declares war upon sleep, the death of productivity. The scholars bowed deeply. Theo's jaw dropped. That's not a philosophy. That's just how Tuesdays happen. Lexicon buzzed gently. They have elected you progenitor of paradox. Theo threw his hands up. Wonderful. I can't get Earth to recycle properly, but out here, I'm a philosopher king. One of the younger scholars raised a trembling appendage. Master, what is the human stance on destiny? Theo sighed and said under his breath, Destiny's just the universe missing a few emails. Lexicon dutifully translated. Destiny is divine correspondence delayed by cosmic bureaucracy. The entire room erupted in enlightenment. Scholars fainted. One wept openly. Another whispered, we will tattoo this upon our symbiotic offspring. Theo buried his face in his hands. Please don't. Too late. Someone was already carving his words into a hovering crystal slab. As the aliens exited, still murmuring his teachings, Theo slumped into a chair. Lex, he said quietly, what happens when they realize I'm just winging it? Lexicon paused, then replied serenely. Statistically improbable. Most religions are founded exactly this way. Theo stared out the viewport at the glittering void. You know what, Lex? Maybe the galaxy deserves us. The AI hummed. Translation. The fool ascends by accepting his role. Applause thundered again from the hallway. Theo groaned. And that's how cults start. The Galactic Council chamber had never smelled like this before. Theo stood at the center of a semicircle of ambassadors, surrounded by glass tubes, humming conduits, and what looked suspiciously like a lava lamp full of nerves. This, he announced cautiously, is coffee. The word echoed through the chamber. Coffee, hissed the serpentine delegate from Aura's Prime, adjusting her translator collar. Is that the sacred drink you use to achieve enlightenment? Theo blinked. Enlightenment? No. Survival. Dozens of alien eyes, round, square, glowing, or eye-stalked, watched as he fumbled with the alien brewing apparatus, a confusing mixture of pipes, gel valves, and something that moaned when touched. The chairman of the council, a six-limbed crustacean named Turok Vel, leaned forward. We understand this coffee unites humans. You shall perform it as a ritual of peace. Theo looked at Lexicon, 9 hovering nearby. You ever get the feeling diplomacy's just a prank that got out of hand? Constantly, the AI replied. Proceed with caution. Their translation of ritual includes bloodletting. Cool, Theo muttered. No pressure. He scooped alien beans, or what passed for them, into the glowing cylinder. The equipment purred, lights flickering. He hit a button that looked like start. A melodic hum rose. The floor vibrated. Then, with the power of a small volcano, the chamber erupted in a fragrant explosion of interstellar espresso. Golden steam flooded the air, shimmering like aurora dust. Every alien inhaled at once. Turokvel's eyes widened. By the moons of Draxus, I can feel my regrets leaving my body. A jelly-like diplomat began to levitate, giggling uncontrollably. I have never loved my own goo so deeply. Theo coughed through the mist. Lex, tell me I didn't just drug the Galactic Council. Lexicon hummed, scanning. Correction, you appear to have brewed a hypersentient euphoric compound. Congratulations, Ambassador. You've invented emotional telepathy. The entire room was chaos. Delegates were floating, hugging, crying. A crystalline being confessed to faking data for 12 centuries. Another shouted, I am the reason comets hit things. Turokvel clutched Theo's shoulders with trembling claws. Human, you've achieved what eons of treaties could not. Universal peace through aroma. Theo, eyes watering from caffeine vapor, muttered, oh yeah, smells like progress and mild brain damage. An alien slithered past, clutching a mug-shaped hologram. We must mass-produce this unity serum. Theo's panic rose. Wait, no, it's not a serum, it's breakfast. But it was too late. The council was in spiritual meltdown. One was reciting poetry about mug handles. Another knelt before the coffee pot, whispering, teach us your warmth, O being of balance. Theo turned to Lexicon, 9, voice low. We just started a religion again, didn't we? Affirmative, the AI replied. Working title, The Order of the Percolated Truth. Theo buried his face in his hands. This is why we can't have nice things. Turokvel raised a steaming cup high. To humanity, may their madness never end. And the entire council, floating and caffeinated beyond reason, echoed in harmony. To madness. Theo sighed, wiping splattered coffee off his suit. Yeah, he said quietly. Mission accomplished. The Galactic Council Chamber, once a temple of reason and rule, now resembled a rave hosted by philosophers. Ambassador Theo Raines sat slumped in his chair, clutching an empty mug like a trauma survivor. Lexicon, he rasped, how long has it been? The AI floated beside him, its hollow eyes flickering. 14 hours since initial brew. Current caffeine saturation, 93% of breathable air. Theo groaned. That explains the hallucinations. Those are real. Lexicon corrected flatly. He looked up. The delegates were singing. Hundreds of alien representatives, tentacled, feathered, scaled, and silicon, swayed in a euphoric trance, mugs raised high. Steam curled in shimmering ribbons across the ceiling, glinting off banners hastily scribbled with slogans. One being, one galaxy. Brew for peace. Decoff is treason. Across the chamber floor, two factions were forming. On the left, the Order of the First Brew, who believed Theo's original mixture was divine perfection. On the right, the Second Steepers, who argued that true enlightenment required a second infusion to unlock deeper harmony. They debated with manic politeness, shouting compliments between sips. Your ignorance is radiant, my friend, one cried. And your arrogance smells delightful. Another replied, to roaring applause. Theo rubbed his face. They're forming governments. Correction, Lexicon said. Religio-political microstates united under caffeine-based ideologies. The chairman, Turokvel, stumbled toward the dais, eyes wide and unfocused, voice trembling with cosmic passion. Ambassador Raines, you have shown us transcendence. The sacred being binds us all. We are drafting the Treaty of Infinite Stimulation. Theo blinked. That's not a good name. It's a perfect name, shouted the jelly diplomat, still levitating. No more wars. No more boredom. Only endless productivity and pleasant jitters. Theo turned to Lexicon. If they keep drinking, will their hearts explode? Statistically, the AI replied, yes. Simultaneously, the chamber pulsed with chants. Mugs clinked like sacred bells. Alien scholars wept while scribbling down Theo's holy recipe, which, as far as he could tell, was just burnt beans in panic. A crystalline delegate raised his cup high. I hereby declare the Galactic Caffeination Pact. All species shall receive shipment of Earth's sacred substance. Theo shot up. Wait, no? You can't just. But the room erupted in cheers. Drones zoomed out of the chamber to broadcast the announcement galaxy-wide. Within minutes, the headlines blazed across every comm screen. Human diplomat creates peace through beverage. New religion brewing at council. Side effects include immortal optimism. Theo stared in numb disbelief. We've replaced war with espresso. Lexicon floated beside him, voice calm. Technically, Ambassador, you've unified the galaxy. Theo slumped back into his chair. Yeah, and doomed them to a never-ending coffee break. He glanced out through the glass dome at the stars beyond, pulsing faintly, almost rhythmically, like a galaxy that had finally found its heartbeat. Behind him, Turok raised another mug. To Earth, the planet of prophets and percolators. Theo muttered, next time, I'm bringing tea. The crowd roared again, blissful and buzzing. And so began the uprising of the caffeinated diplomats, a golden age powered entirely by beans, bad decisions, and one very tired human. For a brief, glorious moment, the galaxy was united, jittery, over-caffeinated, and dangerously optimistic. Then the hangover hit. The council chamber once again filled with noise, not cheers this time, but accusations. Screens blinked with frantic warnings, mugs clattered, and several diplomats were vibrating so fast they'd become visible only as blurs of motion. Ambassador Theo Raines, still holding a half-full cup, muttered, I told them to hydrate. Lexicon, his AI translator, hovered nearby, voice flat as ever. Correction, you told them water is for weaklings. That was during your fourth espresso. Theo sighed. Right. So what's the situation? The holographic dais erupted in flashes of crimson as the traditionalist coalition of purity stormed in, tall, elegant beings robed in silver fibers that shimmered like frozen wind. Their leader, Archon Velsha, slammed a crystalline staff on the floor. Ambassador of Earth, she declared, we accuse your species of chemical manipulation of the Galactic Council. The chamber gasped collectively, a sound like 1,000 flutes being crushed under bureaucracy. Theo blinked. Manipulation? Lady, I barely manipulate my laundry schedule. Velsha's eyes narrowed to thin lines of light. Your beverage has subverted free will. It replaced logic with addiction. The council now worships your brew. In the background, one delegate was indeed building a small shrine made of espresso pods. Theo glanced at Lexicon. Translation error? No, Ambassador. Direct quote. Dozens of traditionalist delegates joined in, voices trembling with moral outrage. You've altered the very chemistry of diplomacy. Your drink causes hallucinations of unity. Peace through stimulants is heresy. Theo rubbed his temples. Look, it was just coffee. Nobody made you drink 6 gallons. A gelatinous creature raised a trembling tentacle. You offered free refills. That's called hospitality. That's called conquest, shrieked another. The uproar grew deafening, tentacles waving, feathers puffing, mandibles clacking. Someone threw a mug. Someone else declared war on decaf. Theo stood up, hands raised in what he hoped was a calming gesture. Everyone, please, chill. The translator hiccuped, glitched, and rendered his words into galactic common as. Be still and transcend your turmoil. The warmth of chaos births serenity. The chamber fell silent. Then applause. Standing ovation. Dozens of alien species leapt to their feet, clapping appendages, vibrating wings, or simply glowing brighter in reverence. The human speaks again, cried one. A master of paradox, shouted another. Chill, a sacred directive of emotional stasis. Velsha's jaw dropped as her own followers began to bow. What sorcery is this? Theo, dazed, leaned toward Lexicon. What did I just say? Approximately, the AI replied. You told them to find enlightenment through caffeine-induced stillness. Theo groaned. I just invented decaf philosophy. The applause grew louder. Council banners unfurled. Someone fainted from spiritual revelation. Velsha's fury melted into confusion. Perhaps the human's madness is wisdom. Theo sighed, watching as the galaxy once again celebrated something he never meant to do. Lex, he muttered, if I ever say anything accidentally profound again, I'll trademark it immediately, the AI interrupted. Theo just laughed weakly, staring at the endless line of beings bowing before him. The man who sneezed on a sacred relic was now a prophet of chill, and the galaxy had never been louder in its silence. The council chamber had never been this quiet. Not since its founding, not since the declaration of galactic order, and certainly not since Earth's first ambassador sneezed on the sacred relic. Now, hundreds of delegates sat motionless, wings folded, tentacles stilled, coffee cups steaming gently in reverence, as the High Arbiter rose from her crystalline throne. Her eyes shimmered like twin quasars. Her robes rippled with the authority of 1,000 civilizations that had never expected to lose their composure over a beverage. Ambassador Theo Raines stood in the center, hands awkwardly clasped, surrounded by half-empty mugs and a faint aroma of roasted beans. He whispered to Lexicon, his AI translator, "If I get executed, make sure my tombstone says, 'may contain traces of genius.'" "Already logged for inscription," Lexicon replied. The High Arbiter raised her staff. "We have heard the charges," she declared. "We have witnessed the chaos, the caffeination, the chill." The word chill echoed through the chamber like divine thunder. Every alien lowered their head. Some even hummed reverently. Theo blinked. "Oh no, they made it a religion." The Arbiter's voice softened. "Ambassador Theo Raines of Earth, your species stands accused of destabilizing the Council's harmony. Yet, paradoxically, you have also achieved what millennia of diplomacy failed to do." She gestured around. The holographic screens flickered with footage, rivals shaking hands mid-espresso, warring factions laughing over cappuccinos, bureaucrats sobbing into latte foam. "Your chaos," she continued, "brought equilibrium. Your errors birthed clarity. Your beverage created empathy." Theo tilted his head. "So, am I in trouble or in a marketing meeting?" "The council will decide." A hush fell. One by one, delegates rose to cast their votes, glowing sigils hovering above their heads, blue for acceptance, red for rejection. The first to vote was Archon Velshaw, the fierce traditionalist who had once demanded Earth's banishment. She stood tall, her silver robe still faintly smelling of mocha, and spoke in a trembling voice. "The human taught us the strength of surrender, the wisdom of accident, the serenity of caffeine." She raised her hand, and the sigil glowed blue. Gasps filled the chamber. Then one by one, more sigils turned blue. The insectoid hive minds, the gelatinous thinkers, even the telepathic gas beings, who had initially declared humanity olfactorily offensive, voted yes. Finally, the Arbiter lifted her staff once more. "By unanimous decision of the Galactic Union," she proclaimed, "humanity is hereby admitted, not as a threat, not as a curiosity, but as the official mediator species of the Union." The chamber erupted into thunderous applause, chittering, and jubilant caffeine slurping. Theo stood frozen, blinking. "Wait, mediator? Us. Have they met us?" Lexicon beeped. "Statistically speaking, Ambassador, you are uniquely qualified. No other species has weaponized both chaos and charm so efficiently." Theo rubbed his face. "Great. We've just been promoted to cosmic therapists." Velshaw approached, bowing deeply. "Ambassador, you have redefined diplomacy itself." He sighed. "All I did was make coffee and sneeze in the wrong place." "Exactly," she said solemnly. "A miracle of imperfection." The Arbiter's voice boomed one last time. "Let the galaxy remember. Equilibrium is found not in order, but in the art of the unexpected." Theo raised his mug. "To accidents." The entire chamber echoed back. "To accidents." And for the first time in recorded history, the Galactic Union adjourned early for a coffee break. The council chamber, once a roaring storm of debate and caffeine-fueled revelation, now sat in silence. The grand hollow banners had dimmed. The air shimmered faintly with the last trails of steam, like ghosts of ideas still floating between the stars. Theo Raines sat alone at the central table, the one where treaties had been accidentally rewritten and alliances sealed over espresso foam. His uniform jacket hung loosely, collar undone, a faint coffee stain marking his promotion to accidental galactic hero. He lifted his mug, the last one, lukewarm now, and took a thoughtful sip. The bitter edge had mellowed, replaced by something rich and oddly comforting. He muttered to himself, "So, I sneezed my way into galactic politics." Lexicon, his AI translator, words softly from his wristband. "Historical clarification, you also brewed unity, redefined diplomacy, and triggered 12 planetary caffeine dependencies." Theo chuckled. "Thanks. Really helps me sleep at night." From the shadows of the upper gallery, a voice answered, smooth, melodic, and unmistakably alien. Sleep? Theo looked up. Velsha, the once stoic traditionalist, now slightly less stoic and notably wide-eyed, descended the marble ramp. Her elegant hands trembled slightly as she held, to Theo's horror, a steaming cup of coffee. "We're never sleeping again," she said with a serene smile, taking a reverent sip. "Our entire diplomatic corps has adopted the ritual of awakening." Theo rubbed his face. "Great. I just doomed the galaxy to insomnia." Velsha tilted her head. "Insomnia, unity, perspective. Are they not the same?" He squinted. "You've been hanging around our philosophers, haven't you?" She smiled faintly. "No, just your baristas." Theo laughed, the kind of laugh that escapes you when everything that's happened finally catches up, and you realize you're now the most influential accident in the Milky Way. He looked down into his cup. The coffee's surface shimmered, reflecting the chamber's holographic ceiling. Thousands of stars spinning slowly, each one a world that now owed its peace to caffeine and chaos. "Lexicon," he said, voice soft. "Remind me to send Earth a memo. We're diplomats now. Also by more beans." "Drafting memo," the AI replied dutifully. Velsha raised her cup toward him. "Ambassador Raines, whatever your species does next, the galaxy will watch with great anticipation." Theo smirked. "Then I'll make sure to sneeze strategically." She didn't laugh, not immediately. Then she did, a strange, melodic laugh that echoed through the empty hall. Theo joined in, their laughter mingling with the soft hum of dormant machinery and the faint gurgle of an unattended percolator somewhere in the back. As the lights dimmed to twilight hues, Theo leaned back, the mug warm in his hands, and murmured to no one in particular. "Here's to humanity, unfiltered, unplanned, and somehow indispensable." The camera lingered as he took the final sip. Steam rose, a heartbeat of silence. Then the gentle sound of percolation filled the void, as if the galaxy itself was brewing one last thought.